Hey everyone, it's Jonathan, and welcome back to the Disney Movie Marathon. Today's episode is a follow-up to our Dumbo discussion in the last one. This time we're covering the 2019 live-action remake of Dumbo, which had just come out not too long before we originally recorded this one. In this episode, I'm joined by my friend Rachel Wagner, because at the time when it came out, and technically to this day, Rachel was one of the only people I know who actually saw this movie and enjoyed it. And I kinda didn't. It was a very mixed bag, and I don't think I've even watched it again since that first viewing. Anyway, Rachel actually had some good reasons for liking it, so I thought she would be the perfect guest for this episode to counteract my negativity. So without further ado, let's get on with this episode of the Disney Movie Marathon. So I guess to start with, why don't you give me your overall feeling about the Disney remakes in general?
Okay. Well, I haven't been a big fan of the Disney remakes. I'm not somebody who's like necessarily against remakes. My biggest problem with the Disney remakes has been the way they have marketed them more than the movies themselves, per se. Having to hear the actors, the directors sort of put down the original films in order to sort of elevate their version has been very frustrating for me. And especially as a Disney blogger, an animation blogger, that's been tough to stomach. And it was particularly bad with Beauty and the Beast, which is a very special movie to me. And that was very hard to deal with, the constant quoting of how they were modernizing it and improving it. That made me crazy. But as far as the movies themselves, I think most of them have been very bland and very just not interesting to me at all, making frustrating choices that haven't done anything to interest me or engage me. The ones that I have enjoyed are the ones that I felt like made better choices, as far as just being interesting and not just redoing the original, but then making choices that were, they felt like they were supposedly trying to improve something by making more frustrating choices than maybe the mistakes of the original. I don't know. But yeah, I haven't been a big fan of them, and especially the marketing of them. I did like Peach Dragon. I think that's the one that got it right. Probably
Mhm.
partly because the original isn't very great. And so they could just kind of do their own thing. And it had a ton of heart and it was really beautifully made. And I think it was by far the best. And then I also like Cinderella. I think it did its own thing quite a bit. And there's so many different versions of Cinderella that I think this is just a different version, not necessarily a remake. I think the same thing with Jungle Book. It's kind of just its own adaptation more than it is a remake. And in
Mhm.
fact, the elements of Jungle Book that were a remake weren't very effective to me as far as this wedging in these two songs. I didn't think it really worked. And I don't know, some of the choices I didn't love, but I did like other choices they made. I thought were pretty good. So those are the ones that I found tolerable. The rest can be very frustrating for me, especially, like I said, the marketing.
Yeah, I have similar feelings. I think I'm probably a little more lenient than you, but I completely understand where you're coming from.
Especially with Beauty Beast, because there's just like every day I got asked, what do you think of this? What do you think of this? What do
Mhm.
you think of this? What do you think of this? And I'm like, ah,
Mhm.
yeah.
So, with all of those feelings about the remakes in general, how do you think Dumbo held up, keeping all that in mind?
Um, well, it's a little bit hard for me because my life experience it was one of those moments where it was just the movie that I needed to see that day
Mhm.
versus was it really a great movie? I don't know. It's a little hard for me to separate the two. And our life experiences are part of our reaction to movies. So maybe it's not right to separate it. I don't know. But I had just been going through this super bad trolling experience with a review that I'd done, and I'd gotten several death threats. I'd had to call the police. It was just a mess. And so for me, going to see Dumbo on that day that I saw it was very like comforting and sweet, and I don't know, it was just kind of the movie that I needed to see at that moment. But I think it's a mixed bag of a movie. As far as it being an accurate remake, I think it is very loose, which is fine for me.
Mhm.
I could have used a little bit more from the original movie. Like I would have liked if they found some way to involve Timothy Q. Mouse a little bit more. I mean, I don't know how you do it, but I don't know. I love that character.
Mhm.
But I thought they nailed Baby Mine. I thought that was great. And that's one of the most iconic sequences. They could have used the music, I think, more from the original.
Mhm.
I don't know. What do you think?
I I still haven't figured out exactly how I feel about this movie because I think I went in with far too high of
Oh,
expectations.
really?
Like
Interesting.
I'm one of those very rare people who actually liked Tim Burton's Alice in Wonderland, and I was
Uh,
expecting something similar to that, and this was not it.
oh, yeah.
This
I haven't liked a Tim Burton live action movie in a long time. So my expectations were also very, very low. I do think this is one of his better movies in the last decade, personally.
hmm,
Yeah.
well, I liked things about the movie in theory,
Uh,
but a lot of it didn't really hold up for me. I felt like none of the characters were really that memorable. They were all just kind of there doing things. I don't know. What did you think
I
about the
mean,
characters?
felt that for most of these remakes. They've watered down the characters to be just so bland and so
Mhm.
not interesting to me at all.
It felt like they were giving them backstories without actually giving them backstories, if that makes any sense. Like
Yeah,
they were telling you
yeah,
things about their backstories, but like they didn't make you feel anything about those backstories.
yeah. I mean, my biggest pluses from the movie is I thought that Dumbo was so cute, and I
Mhm.
thought that I felt relatively attached to him, and I thought that that had a nice heart to the film. The downsides to me was that I didn't really like Colin Farrell as that role. I
Mhm.
just felt like his accent kind of went in and out, and it just didn't. I didn't love him, and I felt like they should have gotten somebody an amputee actor because I didn't think the
Mhm.
special effects were that great on his arm, and I think it would have made it more, I don't know, more interesting to me. And there's no reason to get Colin Farrell. It's not like he's a box office draw. So why not
Mhm.
give the opportunity to an actor, a real amputee actor? Like that would be cool.
That's what I even
But
think about that. But
yeah,
there weren't any scenes where he was like before, like when he had.
yeah,
So
yeah,
there was really no reason to cast somebody who had two arms and then green screen one out.
yep,
That's a good
uh,
point.
yep, yeah. And but by the end, like when they're able to set Dumbo free and his mom, get him his back to his mom. I was like, oh, this is, I felt good. But yeah, I also just thought I did think the very ending with that whole like we're doing a circus with no animals thing was so groan reducing. I was like, oh, give me a break.
Hmm.
But uh, I don't know. It was fine. It was like I said, I was just in the right mood for it when I saw it. Um, but I thought it was overall a pleasant little movie. But I didn't, like not like my favorite movie.
One of the weird or interesting things about it was that they kind of like played out the whole story of Dumbo, and then it seemed like they were making a sequel within the main movie by having a completely different story for the second half. What
Yeah.
did you think about that?
Yeah, I mean, I agree. It definitely kind of what were they thinking? It is kind of weird to have Disney, this huge conglomerate that just bought Fox, and then you have them telling a story about a huge evil circus company that buys the small circus company. And I mean, it is it's a little too meta for my
So did you think of that while you were watching? Because I didn't even think about that till I got home and started reading the reviews. I was like, oh wait, that's kind of true.
Yeah. No, I thought of it, but yeah, I particularly would the critic William Bibiani, who's one of my favorites. He had a whole thread about it that was I was like, oh my gosh, that's so true. So I have to give him most of the credit. But yeah, I don't know. It was a weird choice. I didn't think that Michael Keaton was great in the
I'm,
role.
I'm glad that someone agrees with me. Like everybody keeps talking about that he was one of the best parts, and I'm like, I
What?
didn't think he
No.
was great at all.
No, I and the people are gonna hate me, but I think he's a little overrated as an actor. I love him in Spotlight, and some roles he's very good in some roles, but I don't know, man. He does a lot of clinkers too, a lot of really bad movies.
I thought he was really hammy in this, and it
Yeah,
just
he
didn't
definitely
feel
was.
right for the role.
Yeah.
It's just odd. But like
But
there were so
I don't
many
know. I
odd
at
things
least I
in
didn't feel like it was boring. And for me, most of the recent Tim Burton movies of the last 10 years have been so dull. Like I think this is a million times better than Miss Peregrine's Home for Boredom is what I call it. I thought that movie was awful. It was just exposition after exposition after exposition, and there was almost nothing that was magical or mystical or interesting or I oh, man, that movie, I hated it, and this to me was way better.
it. I can see that. I felt like I didn't feel like it was not boring, but I was comparing it to the Nutcracker and the Four Realms, and compared to that, this was a lot more interesting.
Oh yeah,
I was so bored in Nutcracker and the Four
yeah,
Realms.
that's fair. I mean, at least this has a plot. That movie didn't even have a plot.
Yeah, it
There was
almost
literally
did.
no plot. It
Yeah,
was
it
just
was.
like, oh, we're gonna go explore. What? And then we're gonna watch a ballet for a little while, and then we're gonna explore some more. That was terrible.
Yeah, I feel like I've exhausted all of my words on that movie between talking about it with Saul and then I talked about it again with Katie for the Fantasia podcast that we did
It's like the other
together.
day someone was saying that do you think that Doctor Strange is better than Suicide Squad? And I'm like, yeah, Doctor Strange is better than Suicide Squad. It actually has a story. It's not someone sitting in a restaurant with a binder for 20 minutes. Like what? I don't know. So I don't know. I think Dumbo has its flaws. It's not perfect, but I thought it had a nice heart. It tried to do something different, unlike some of the others, and it was cute. I thought Dumbo was cute. I liked it. I think I gave it a 6 out of 10 or 7. So it wasn't like a huge endorsement,
I think
but
I gave it 2.5 on Letterboxd, which is like 5 out of 10, I think.
yeah, I can
So
understand that.
it was very much a mixed bag for me. There were so many things that I felt like they could have been done better, but at the same time, it kept me interested till the end. But I felt like I was critiquing it in my head the whole time, which is not really what I want to be doing when I'm watching a movie. Like one of my biggest problems was the thing with the key. The girl had the key around her neck, and then it was supposed to
Oh
be, it
yeah,
was from her mother. And
what
then
was that?
in the end, she tells Dumbo he doesn't need the feather, just like she doesn't need the key, and she like throws the key into the fire. I was like, the key was a keepsake from her mother who died. It's
That's
not the
true.
same thing.
That's a good point.
That really bothered me. That was
Yeah,
probably
that's fair.
that was probably even though it's really a minor thing in the overall plot. That's probably the thing that bothered me the most in the whole movie. It just I don't know. I felt there was a lot of things about the way the girl was written that just didn't feel real. She didn't feel like a real character to me. I don't.
Also, I this is just a nitpick, but I didn't really understand why they casted her because she looks so different than the other boy and so different than Colin Farrell in the pictures of the mother. Like, I mean, I think the little girl is I think African American in descent. Like she's very fair skinned African American, but she looked totally different. Like it was the weirdest casting to me. Like what? Yeah, I
What?
guess.
Did it ever show the mother? I don't even remember if it
Yeah,
showed.
they had like pictures that they showed.
Hmm.
She just didn't look at all like this girl. I mean, I think they might have been black and white. I can't remember. But anyway, I was just like, this is really weird casting to
I
me.
guess
But
I
she
didn't
wasn't
really think
great. The
about
kids
it,
weren't
but
that great. I didn't think they were awful. I've seen worse, but they weren't the best.
I feel
But
like I feel like it was more the fault of the writing than the actors. Just the
yeah,
writing for them felt off.
the I did really like that a whole I forget what they called it, the scary animal part.
Nightmare Island.
Yeah, that was pretty cool. Like I thought that had a pretty cool
Yeah,
aesthetic.
there
It
were
was
a
supposed
lot
to
of
be
great
scary.
set pieces.
Yeah, I thought that was pretty cool. And when they're able to trick everybody and she gets freed, and Dumbo gets freed, that was a pretty good moment. I enjoyed that.
Yeah,
And
I wasn't expecting the elephants to all end up back in India.
yeah, I mean, I thought the whole we're doing a circus with no animals was really stupid,
Yeah, it was.
but that if they just ended it being free from the park, I think that was a good moment.
Yeah, the whole thing at the end was just odd because like today we understand that circuses are kind of horrible to animals, especially elephants. But back then they wouldn't have cared and they they didn't care because Dumbo was abused and like all the elephants were abused at the beginning. And then all of a sudden at the end they all love the elephants and they want the best for them even though they were
Yeah.
treating them like garbage at the beginning.
I mean, I actually think that that's a little more complicated than that. I think that if you look into Ringing Brothers and some of the circus, they actually really loved and cherished their elephants, and they have them on a sanctuary now, but they were I don't necessarily agree with that, but whatever. If they wanted to separate themselves from the animal rights activists or whatever from complaining about it, they should have just ended with them being free. Like you don't need
Mhm.
to have the
Yes.
tag with them starting an animalist circus. That was just dumb.
Especially
Just
because the circus was not animal free. There was still horses. Like, why do horses have to be?
yeah, that's fair.
They set all the other ones free, but they kept the horses.
Yeah,
It was
that's
a
true.
odd mixed
It
message.
would be the worst circus ever. I'd be so circus. Like it would be better if they just did like a Cirque du Soleil kind of a thing or whatever, and we're
Yeah.
just gonna have acrobats and not have any not have faux animals. That's ridiculous.
Hmm. Yeah.
No, thank you. Unless you're the Lion King on Broadway. No, no, that's the only way you can get away with faux animals.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I was like I said, I was just in the right mood to watch it.
Hmm.
I needed something kind of comforting and sweet, and I think it was comforting and sweet. I think it had. I felt good at the end with the victory over the bad guys, and I thought they did Baby Mine really well, and I thought that it looked nice, and I thought Dumbo was so cute, and so even though I had my issues with it, I overall enjoyed it.
Yeah. I didn't hate it, but it was really a mixed bag for me. I feel like I probably wouldn't mind watching it again, but at the same time, I would probably just be critiquing it the whole time. So I don't know if
I
I'd
mean, I
want.
would definitely be critiquing it more than I was
Oh yeah, that's
on
probably
it.
true.
Yeah, but yeah, I mean, I don't know. I have. Where would it rank for you as far as the what's your favorite of all the remakes?
Probably Pete's Dragon. Pete's Dragon was
Yeah,
just done so
it's
well.
that's by far the best. Yeah, I agree. Yeah, my ranking is Peach Dragon, and then Cinderella, and then Jungle Book. I think those are the three best in my opinion.
Jungle Book's probably my second,
Yeah,
and
it's
then like I said, I really liked Alice in Wonderland. I know I'm very much in the minority, but I just really liked the aesthetic, and that won me over.
oh okay, fair enough.
But yeah, Dumbo is probably mid to low range for me. It was
Yeah, I probably put Dumbo at number 4 for me.
okay.
And then I guess Christopher Robin, even though I didn't really like it. And
I wasn't even thinking about Christopher Robin.
yeah, then Christopher. No, I mean, and I'd have Dumbo number 4, and then Christopher Robin, and then I guess Beauty and the Beast, and then Maleficent, and I can't remember what else. What other? Oh, and then I'd have Alice in Wonderland, and then Maleficent.
Okay. I haven't really
Yeah.
thought about how I would rank them. Most of them are all similar rankings. Like, I feel like there would be a lot of ties in my list.
Yeah, that's true. I don't know. I cannot believe they spent $170 million. Like, that's
No,
insane to me. When I heard that, I just thought, what is going on? Like, that's ridiculous.
this really should have been one like Pete's Dragon, where they put a really small budget and then made it the best they could do with small budget.
Yeah.
I think that they
Yeah.
would have. I think it would have been a better film if they.
Oh, agreed. No doubt.
Very
And I mean, you certainly didn't need the fancy cast that they had. You could have cut it way down as far as budget, and you didn't need most of the world building and stuff was just not necessary and not. I mean, it's just crazy. $107 million for that movie is absolutely insane. I don't know what Disney was thinking, because there's no way that Dumbo has that big of a fan base to support. That's just nuts. And I mean, you think that this new Godzilla movie, I think it's just it's around $200 million, and like it's a Godzilla. I mean, Godzilla's huge. It's like a huge thing. Like, what? How could Dumbo be practically as much money?
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Wow.
It's crazy.
Yeah, that's so true. If it were me in charge of it, I would have just made it for Disney Plus and made it a similar length to the original and just redid the original. Maybe fleshed it out a little more. I wouldn't have done the same cast. I don't know that I would have even put the kids. I would have just kept the mouse.
Yeah, I know. I wish they could have kept. Yeah, I mean, as grown worthy as it is to be like, oh, they just recopied the original, and I kind of like the fact they tried something different on this. You have to execute that difference well. Then that's what Pete's Dragon did. They executed it really well.
Yeah.
But I don't know. It's a weird situation. I have very mixed feelings about it. But I kind of have to see it again because, like I said, when I saw it, I was just in a weird spot. So,
yeah, it'll be interesting to see what you think about it when you rewatch it.
I guess, yeah, take my review with a huge grain of salt on that one.
Well, I feel like the main reason I wanted you on here was because I felt like you would be a good pro to my con because I wasn't that hot on it. And you liked it a lot more. Like, you're one of the few people I knew that actually enjoyed it. And I know there was circumstances around it why you enjoyed it more than other people, but I felt like if I wanted somebody to have anything positive about it, you would be the one to go to.
Yeah. Well, yeah. No, I did. I thought it was sweet. I thought it had a nice message. I thought, like I said, they did Baby Mine so good. I thought that was great.
Mm-hmm.
I thought it looked nice. I mean, Tim Burton has been on my bad side for so long. And overall, I just think this was a movie that had a little bit more heart and was just a little bit less frustrating to me than some of his other movies. And I don't know. So overall, I did enjoy it.
Good. I'm glad. I'm glad you enjoyed it if I couldn't really enjoy it.
Very good.
Okay, well, thanks for joining me for this. You want to let everybody know where they can find you?
Yeah, you can find me at Rachel's Reviews all over social media and on iTunes and YouTube. And you can find me at the Hallmarkies podcast as well.
Okay, well,
Great.
We will talk to you again for another episode one of these days.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Thanks for listening to this episode of the Disney Movie Marathon. If you like what you've heard, make sure to subscribe on your preferred podcast platform or to our YouTube channel. Make sure to follow my co-hosts as well. Any relevant links will be in the description for easy access. We'll be back soon with another brand new episode, so thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time.